Facial expression. Now, facial expression, what do you understand by facial expression? Bhumika or Pujita, can you please tell me?
Positive and negative feedback.
Yes. Like suppose you are showing anger on your face.
Emotions also we can understand by the face. If we will see
Abs
the face, we can understand is it sad or it is happy or it is whatever it will be. Emotion we can
Absolutely.
understand.
A way of expressing our feelings or
Yes, you're absolutely right. You're on the track. That is what is impression formation. Non-verbal. These are known as non-verbal clues. Suppose you meet your friend and she shows an angry face. She's very angry and irritated. So you will understand, Arey Baba, let me keep away from her. She's not interested in talking to me, right? So that is how these are the clues, facial expression. Similarly, the use of touch. You meet your mother, you embrace her. So what is that? That is what? You love her. That is the giving the impression that you like her, you love her. So all these are non-verbal clues which all of us we use for whether we understand what is the impression the other person is trying to signal or what is the impression that you are having to signal on the other person. These are all known as non-verbal clues. Now, social psychology examines self-presentation or how we present ourselves to others. We use many strategies to convey impressions about ourselves to others. Now, suppose you are in a group, you're in communication with your friends, new friends you meet and all. So the impressions that you're conveying, it could be through the way you speak. So suppose you're speaking that the car you drive, the clothes or jewelry you wear, even the size of the cell phone that you're carrying, what impression does it give? It gives that, okay, oh, you're a very big shot, right? So you're having all these gadgets and all these hi-fi things. So that is the impression that gives. So there are many strategies to convey the impressions. Now, even the casual references we make in conversations. Suppose we are talking among group of friends and all about where we are going for vacation. Someone says, oh, I'm going to the US for vacation. And then how you talk. So what kind of an impression he's trying to give you? Oh, he goes abroad for vacations always. He's a big shot kind of a thing. So these kind of the way a person talks, parties, so the parties they have attended. So all these, they give us the cue that what kind of an impression they are trying to form. Is it clear about information, about the, what is that called? Impressions formation. Is it clear?
yes,
yes or no? Yes, please. Yes, Pujita. Please stop me. If you don't understand, you must please stop me or raise your hand so that I can explain again. Understand?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So it's very important. Otherwise, I'll just keep on. And please tell me also if I am, if I'm going too fast. If you tell me, I'll slow down. Okay. So now moving on to the next slide. Non-verbal clues, as we have already discussed, is that non-verbal clues are visible channel that you can see. The gestures that you make, the facial expressions and all are known as non-verbal clues. So the non-verbal clues are distance. Suppose you don't like someone and all, you keep a distance, you stand far away. People whom you like and all, you'll be standing close. So this is a visible clue. Then gestures, the kind of gestures you use, eye contact and facial expressions. So these all indicate what type of impressions you are being created. So now we have roles. Now roles are more distinctive and informative than traits, leading to more association and useful for recall. They summarize a wide range of information. What do you understand by roles? The roles here is nothing but role of a teacher, role of a mother, so role of a child, role of X, Y, and Z. So these roles are more distinctive and informative than traits. What do you understand by traits? Traits are nothing but characteristics of a person, right? Characteristics means a person may be very emotional, very warm, or highly intellectual. These kind of characteristics. They summarize, they help us to understand a wide range of information. The physical cues, as we have already told, we often draw on people's appearance and behavior to infer qualities about them. So suppose you see a person who's dressed, with tattered clothes and all, you come across on the road. So what kind of impression you will have of that person? Oh, poor thing, maybe he doesn't have money to buy clothes, right? So that is why he's not able to buy clothes. That kind of impression you will develop. So physical appearance. They help us to form detailed impressions. For example, the observation of a person helping a blind man to cross the road may lead to the impression. What kind of impression? Can you please tell me? Yes?
We can have a good impression in them.
Right. That means the person is very kind, very sympathetic, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So that kind of impression. So salience. Salience means, according to Nelson and Clutas, figure ground principle plays an important role in impression formation. So this figure ground principle, this principle actually we will be doing in detail later on. So I don't want to confuse you with this as of now. So you just understand that salience, which is the concept of figure ground principle, this also plays a very big role in impression formation. Okay. So again, I repeated this now. So there are implicit personality traits. Now, what do you understand by implicit personality traits? Implicit personality theories and implicit means which is not expressed, personality traits, the traits of a person, the characteristics of a person. Now, these theories, there are certain theories which enable us to make inferences that go beyond the available information. So we may not always have information on hand, but sometimes what we do is we form the impressions which, without the knowledge or the information we have, we don't have the information or the knowledge, but yet we try to create an impression or form an impression. This comprises a set of unstated assumptions. Assumptions is the one element where we assume and then we create the impressions about what personality traits will tend to go together. Frequently, these implicit personality theories are extended to include beliefs about what sorts of behavior goes with particular personality traits. So we form impressions of others that reflect our implicit beliefs more than the actual traits. See, in this sentence, so much of depth is hidden. Now, how do we form impressions of others? We form impressions of others basically based on our beliefs, right? Our beliefs, our perception, based on that, we form the impression, actual traits. The actual trait may not be true, but then based on what we think is right, what we are thinking, we are feeling, we are forming the impressions. Now, I'll give you a small example. Now, suppose we may be wrong, those clues, non-verbal clues are there. So we may be wrong that, okay, that the person who is there with you, you feel that she is having an irritable nature or anger on her face. You may feel, but maybe her facial expression itself is such. We don't know that. But thinking that you have created an impression about her. So this, because you are thinking that, because you yourself, when you are angry, when you are irritated, you show a frowning face, etc. So thinking so, you are attributing it to the other person, thinking that she is also angry, that is why she is behaving like this. Am I making sense? Is it clear to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is what this sentence says. Okay, now moving on. Is a Ash's research on central and peripheral traits. Now coming to this, Ash is a very, very famous sociologist. He says that he has, in his research, he has discuss the concepts of trait, centrality, categorization, schema, person schemata, role schemata, scripts, prototypes, exemplar, stereotypes. These are all the elements, concepts, not elements. I'm sorry, these are the concepts in Ash's research, which says that these are the elements which influence our impression formation, causes or impression formation. Now, context effects also. Now, context effects in impression formation was studied as a function of the source of contextual stimuli. Context means what? To the reference to the environment. That is the context we are talking about, the environment or the situation. The two types of contextual effects are contrast and assimilation. The contrast, what is contrast? Contrast refers to a biasing effect on judgments away from the environmental context. Now, I'll give you an example you will understand. Now, for example, photographs of faces. Now, suppose photographs of faces which are less attractive. These are presented after the exposure of a less attractive face. Let me make it clear. I think you may be confused in this. What it is being said is that contrast refers to, suppose a photograph of a person is shown after a very beautiful face. What will be the impression? This photograph which is showing is not beautiful, we will think. Am I right? It is the degrees, the contrast we are trying to bring in. Now, suppose this photograph of a person is not too beautiful, but it is being shown after not too beautiful face. So then what will happen? The contrast will not be that intense. So we will think that, okay, this face is also beautiful. Have you all understood this contrast concept? Or you want me to explain it more?
Once more, ma'am.
Okay, that's fine. Now, what I'm trying to say is, suppose two photographs are there. Okay. Now, in these two photographs, so one is three photographs. Let us take three photographs are there. Okay. So in these three photographs, one is a photograph of a very beautiful face, and the other two are not so beautiful faces. So now, the first situation is when the photograph first of a beautiful face is shown, and then the photograph of the just not so beautiful face is shown. So what will be your impression? The impression will be that the second photograph, oh, she is not at all beautiful, you will think. Why? Because earlier to this, the photograph of a beautiful face was shown. Now, the second situation, let us come to the second situation where these two faces are not beautiful. Both the faces are not so beautiful. Maybe marginally they are different. So one after the other is shown. So what impression will you have of when the second photograph is shown? You will think that, okay, it's okay. The face is okay. It's not so beautiful, but it's okay. So this is the impression you are forming. Am I making sense? Is it clear?
Yeah.
Got it?
Okay.
Yeah. So this is what, anyway, once you read again, you will understand this concept. This is called contrast. What is this called? Contrast. To a biasing effect on judgment. You are judging it based on the two photographs, which is one is very beautiful face, the other is not so beautiful or attractive. Now, assimilation. The second concept is assimilation refers to the biasing of a judgment in the same direction as a contextual standard. It means that, for example, simultaneously presenting a highly attractive person and a less attractive one tends to produce more favorable ratings for the less attractive face. See, there is another perception. The second perception is that, suppose a photograph is very highly beautiful face is shown, then after that, the face which is shown is average beauty or not at all beautiful. So chances are that the not so beautiful face, The impression formation will be that it will be favorable ratings will be given. Why? Because the impression will be that, oh, she is not beautiful, so we can vote for her, we can give her more ratings. So the less attractive face will get favorable ratings than the attractive face. Is it clear, this concept also? This is called assimilation, biasing of a judgment in the same direction as a contextual standard. Should I move on? Or you
Yes,
want me to explain?
no, it's okay.
Okay. So now, integrating information about others. The process of learning impression is rapid and automatic, right? The process of learning impressions is rapid and automatic. You don't stop and think. Quickly, the brain moves quickly. You see a person, the process starts of making the impression. Do you agree with me?
Yes,
How many
ma'am.
of you agree with me? That this is how the process is, it starts, without us being aware also. We are moving very fast of rapid and automatic impressions creating. So we form unified impression of others in a seemingly effortless way, right? We don't put much of effort. It automatically comes, forming the impressions. Many characteristics combined together form a single impression. New experiences with other typically add information to impressions we already hold. So suppose you're meeting a person and your friend tells you about that person. So you have already created impression about her. So now that impression is already there. Plus you're adding new impressions as you're talking with her and interacting with her. Have you got it? Yes? Okay. Now, perceivers try to integrate information about many apparently contradictory attributes to create a unified and coherent impressions. The perceivers, who is a perceiver? Perceiver is the person who is involved in perceiving the other person. The person, now suppose A and B. B is the object, A is the person. Now A is observing the object. So A is the perceiver. Perceiver is the one who is perceiving. Got it? Okay. So now evaluation. Now evaluation, these are all in this impression formation. We have all these concepts which you need to know. The most important aspect of first impressions is evaluation. How do you arrive at the first impression? Because you are evaluating. What do you understand by evaluating? Evaluating means you're trying to understand. You're trying to understand, and logically you're trying to arrive at a solution. That is what is evaluation. Now, evaluate dimensions is the most important of a small number of basic dimensions that organize our unified impressions of other people. Negative and positive bias. We have been talking about this. What is negative? Remember yesterday someone asked me, what is bias? So I told you the bias itself is a connotation of negativity, right? But here what we are trying to say is that we have negative and positive bias, right? So negative bias, experimental research has also produced empirical evidence to suggest that people tend to form positive impressions of others unless there is specific information to the contrary. That means unless you have something specially negative information, generally people form a positive positive information. They try to bank on the positive information, which is the impression. So, however, if people are told anything negative about, suppose you meet the person, before meeting the person, you are told something negative about him or her, then what happens is, the person at all, this tends to have a disproportionate effect. That means it immediately turns a good impression into a bad one. Moreover, once a negative impression is formed about someone, it tends to persist. So, impression formation thus has a negative bias. So, what do you understand by negative bias? Negative bias is nothing but, suppose you already have some negative information about a person, and you meet the person, you will be having a negative bias, and that bias will not go from your head. That is what is meant by negative bias. Now, negative and positive bias. Experimental research has also produced empirical evidence to suggest that people tend to form positive impressions of others unless there is a specific information to the contrary. We have seen this in the previous slide also. This is a repetition of the same point. Unless we have something negative, generally people have the tendency to form positive impressions only. So first impression, there is a primary effect in impression formation. The first time people meet someone, they form an impression of that person that persists even though they may later have other contradictory information about that person. It only means that first impression is so important that if the impression formation is positive in the first interaction, then no matter what happens subsequently, the positive impression will continue. It's very rarely that the positive impression changes into negative. So also the first impression, if by any chance it becomes negative or biased, then whole life, the subsequently, the impression which will remain is negative only. That is the highly probable. I don't say that it will not change, but it is very difficult to change the impression. Now, averaging principle. Impression formation can be understood in terms of basic cognitive processes. We do not focus or pay equal attention to all kinds of information about others. Rather, we focus on certain kinds, the inputs we view being as most useful. Basically, what this averaging principle concept says is that we have the tendency, the basic cognitive process is such that we do not pay attention to everything, all kinds of information. We only take up the information which we feel as most important, and then we form the impression. Now, I'll give you a small example. Suppose you're going to interview few candidates. Now, in that interview, you will when you're interviewing the candidates, the focus attention would be only to the factors which are related to the interview, maybe educational, the interview part and all. So you will be your process, cognitive process will be that you will focus on only those kinds of inputs which are useful to your interview. Have you all understood this?
Yes,
Ma'am, can you explain once again?
Okay, sure. Now, this averaging principle concept says that in the process of impression formation, what we usually do is that we do not focus on all kinds of information inputs. We do not focus on all kinds of inputs which we are seeing. We only focus on which are useful to us. In the sense, the example is that, now suppose you are going to select few dancers, or you're going to select, let us say we are going to select few singers. Now, when you're selecting a few singers, your focus will be whether the swar is proper or not, the shruti is proper or not. No matter how beautiful the person is, how physically attractive the person is, your attention will not go to all those factors. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
So your attention, your focus will be only connected to singing, connected to how the person is singing. That is all your focus is. That is what they are saying. This is called averaging principle. So that automatically, this basic cognitive processes which we are all having is that automatically it shifts to the focus area on which you want to focus. Correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, good. Now, experience. Similarly, the nature of impression shifts as we gain increasing experience with others. Am I right? The motives. Our motives largely influence our impression. Now, experience, suppose you are constantly meeting a person. In the beginning, as I told you earlier, it is difficult to change the negative bias, but you constantly meet the person, you start seeing, have good experiences with that person, then your impressions will shift. They will become positive, right? So also our motives also help us largely influence our impressions. If we are motivated to be more accurate, we focus on the individual traits. Our goals and feelings about other people influence the information that we gather around them. So what is our goals? What are the feelings we are having? All these also motivate and lead or influence our impression formation of others. Now, moving on to perceivers, cognitive and emotional state. Now, again, this impression formation depends. Can anyone tell me who is a perceiver?
Who are receiving the words, who are receiving or who are listening the words.
Right. Means no. Suppose I say, I am here and you are there. I am A and I am B. I am speaking. So I am the perceiver in this context because I am speaking. And you are listening. So you are the perceiver. What are the impressions you are forming about me? Right? So it could be the receiver, it could be the speaker. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you have understood this concept, right? Perceiver.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So perceivers, cognitive and emotional state. Now, sometimes our cognitive and emotional state also influences our impression. Usually we focus our attention on the other person's behavior and infer about him or her when we have little else on our mind. That means suppose you are very preoccupied, you are busy doing some very important work and all. So that time you will hardly notice the other person, right? Forget about forming impression about that person. You will hardly notice. Now, suppose you are free, you're having a lot of free, you're feeling very happy or whatever it is, just lazing around some. Then what will happen? Then you will tend to focus on the other person. Your attention will go there. You will try to understand what that person is. All that the process will start. So it depends, the impression formation also depends on the perceiver's cognitive and emotional state. The second point here is that, on the other hand, we are not able to focus on the person about whom we are forming impression if we are preoccupied with something, as I just now told you, right? Now, impression as self-fulfilling prophecies. People are not just passive recipients of information. We all know this, right? We only don't receive information. We also process it and then we act on that, right? So they often act on the schemas in ways that change the extent to which these schemas are supported or contradictory. Here we have brought in a new concept called schemas. Schema means it is a mental structure, which we will talk about it later. For now, you think mental structure is a schema. The mental plan, mental structure is a schema. Now, the other side of the self-fulfilling prophecy is behavioral confirmation. The notion of behavioral confirmation emphasizes that both perceivers and targets have goals in social interactions. Now, just now, as we were discussing about who the perceiver is, we can just distinguish it by bringing about the target person. So, perceiver and the targets. If we analyze it this way, it becomes easier to understand, right? So, both perceivers and targets have goals in social interactions. Both have goals. So whether a target confirms a perceiver's expectations depends on what they both want from the interaction. So here it means that Suppose two people are there, one the perceiver, A is the perceiver, A and B are interacting. So A is the perceiver and suppose A's goal is to study for exam and B's goal is not to study, to go out for party. So now here, if A's goal is to study for exam and B's goal is to go for party, do you think the expectations are confirming? Do you think both are having the same expectations from the interaction?
No, ma'am.
Right. So when both of them, they want the same, they want to study for the exam, then only this confirms the perceiver's expectation. So perceivers and target persons, both the expectations are confirmation to each other. Now techniques. Now let us move to techniques. Now we are all these while we were talking about impression, formation and impression management. Now techniques. What are the techniques of impression management? In order to make a good impression on others, individuals often engage in impression management. Can anyone quickly give me an example? It's already 5:30. Can quickly give me an example of how you manage impressions? Please, fast.
Like in front of you, by giving the answer, we are making the impression.
Yeah, correct. Very good. Excellently. Well said. So there are various reasons why people engage in tactical impression management. Make others like us more than they would otherwise. Make others fear us, respect our abilities, etc. I think I have to move fast. Okay. Now, ingratitude. Most people want to be liked by others, though most of the time we are genuine in our relations with others. Occasionally, we may resort to ingratitude, attempts to increase the target person's liking for us. Opinion conformity. It refers to expressing agreement with the target person's view. This is a tactic. Now, suppose you want to impress your lecturer or someone. Whatever the lecturer says, yes, yes, ma'am, even I agree to that, you may say that. Why? Because you want to create an impression. The tactic is often successful because people tend to like others who hold opinions similar to their own. Bluetooth mode. Sorry? Now, other enhancement. A second ingratitude tactic is other enhancement. That is using flattery or complimenting of the target person. Suppose you want to create an impression. Some actor comes and all, then you speak to him and you say, suppose Mahesh Babu comes and then you say that, oh, I love watching your movies. Your movies are great and all. What are you trying to do actually? You're trying to create an impression on him, right? Of course, you may genuinely also, you may love seeing his movies, but apart from that, you're creating an impression on him. Okay. Then supplication. A third other focus tactic is supplication, convincing a target person that you are needy and deserving. It means that suppose very badly you want to go for a movie or something, then you go and speak to your parents, you say, oh, so much I'm studying, I need to have a break, I absolutely need to have a break. And then you speak to your parents. So what are you trying to do? Your supplication. You're trying to convince a target person. Who is the target person here? Quick.
Parents.
Parents, right. Right, parent, that you're needing. And the selective self-presentation. The fourth self-focused ingratitude tactic is selective and self-presentation. Means selectively, whoever you want to impress, you dress up well physically, you prepare yourself, and then you present yourself well. That is the fourth. So now coming to the last slide. Thank you so much. I hope you understood this, right? So we will move on next to the, any questions quickly? Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So now we will move on to the next unit 3. Sorry, unit 2. What is the unit 2?
Attribution.
No, it's not now. Now it will start block 2. Socialization.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we are starting. You are absolutely right. We are starting the block 2. In block 2, it is unit 4.
Yes.
right?
Unit 4, socialization.
Socialization, right. Unit 4, socialization. Acha, tell me in simple language, what do you understand by socialization, please?
Group of, we will talk with group of people. Socialization means group of people and group of things.
Right, you're absolutely right. Interacting with a group of people, that could be any formal groups, informal groups, colleges,
Yes.
parties, marriages, right? Or that is called socializing. From this only we have adopted the term socialization, right? Socialization and social cognition play, I'm going to move fast, okay? Socialization, social cognitive play, cognition play a vital role in modern days, right? Socialization is the process by which individuals are assisted means helped to become members of their social group. Without socialization, we are so isolated, we don't know what the culture is, we don't know anything. Absolutely, we don't know anything. So socialization is the main basic element which helps us to teach us our culture, our background, our way of life, everything, absolutely everything. That first opportunity is a very important one. That impression, oh my God, forming of the first, this I did not erase this. Okay. Okay, meaning and definition of socialization. Socialization is a process whereby individuals are made aware of behaviors that are expected of them with regards to the norms, beliefs, attitudes, and values of the society in which they live. Do you agree to this?
Yes.
Quickly.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. So socialization helps the individual face the realities of life through the appreciation of their cultural practices. Now, the agencies of socialization are the social institutions that pass on to the people these norms, values, beliefs, attitude. These generation after generation, your great grandparent, then your great grandparent, then grandparent, like that, these are all passed on. Some of these, they become, we don't follow coming away to cities and all, but the core of it, we all have it, right? Now, socialization is a process as the process of inducing the individual into the social and cultural world, of making him a particular member in society and its various groups, and inducing him to accept the norms and values of that society. Socialization is definitely a matter of learning and not of biological origin. Now, suppose the newborn is merely an organism. The socialization makes him responsive to the society. A newborn comes into the world, he doesn't know absolutely anything. First the family, then the neighbors, then the schools, all these data start these kind of socialization. He learns everything from zero level. He is socially active, he becomes a purush, and the culture that his group inculcates him, humanizes him, and makes him Manusha. Manusha means human being. The process indeed is an endless process. The cultural patterns of his group in the process gets incorporated in the personality of the child. Whatever culture is there, cultural pattern, he absorbs everything and then he understands, he behaves accordingly. It prepares him to fit in the group and to perform these social roles. He has a social role as if it is a girl, as a social role, as a girl, as a mother, as a sister, all these roles, the girl child or the boy child accordingly is taught. The social roles is taught by the families, by the society, and they fit into that group. It sets the infant on the line of social order and enables an adult to fit into the new group. Enables the man to adjust himself to the new social order. So without socialization, it's absolutely impossible for any newborn infant to understand and to behave accordingly. Socialization facilitates the development of the human brain, body, attitude, behavior, and so on and so forth. Socialization is known as the process of inducting the individual into the social world. So, what is socialization? It is the process of inducting the individual into the social world. The term socialization refers to the process of interaction through which the growing individual learns the habits, attitudes, values, and beliefs of the social group into which he has been born. There are different theories of socialization, and some of the theories are very well-known theories are theory of looking glass, self-proposed by Charles Horton Cooley, very famous Cooley, theory of social self developed by George Herbert Mead, and socialization processes can also be understood by analyzing the theories of Erickson's psychosocial development and Freud's theory of psychoanalysis. So we have certain theories only on socialization, which the above three are mentioned. Apart from that, we can understand the importance of socialization process by analyzing separately the two theories of Erickson's and the Freud theory of psychoanalysis. These theories will be going in detail in subsequent classes. But in a brief, Freud's theory of psychoanalysis, he emphasized on the early lives of the life of a person and the lifelong importance of conflicts created by them as society imposes restraints on the child's needs. His theory mainly emphasizes on these elements, the child's early years of child and the different and the various conflicts the society imposes on the child's needs. Freud's theory of psychosexual development was also seen to have a direct impact on the social behavior of the individual. There's another theory of Freud's theory of psychosexual development, which also emphasizes the child's direct impact on the social behavior. Further, the agencies which influence the child's development process are also discussed. So it's a process by which an individual learns how to interact with others and becomes a member of society. Socialization is a complex, lifelong process which helps in emergence of social self. So again, we are coming back, we are discussing the same thing about socialization from different angles. And what are the goals of socialization? The basic goals of socialization include the following: impulse control and development of a conscience, role preparation and performance, cultivation of sources of meaning, what is valued, what is liked, prepares humans to function in social life. So these are all goals of socialization. What is the impact of socialization? Impact of socialization can be seen both on the individual and also on the society that he lives in. On the individual, it helps by providing the skills and habits, helps in acting and participating within the society. See, the way individual is having an impact of the society, similarly, the society will also have an impact of this individual. So it is both ways. Now, on the society, it inducts all individual members to its norms, beliefs, values, etc. The means by which social and cultural continuity are attained. This is the impact socialization has on the society, and the earlier ones on the individual. Now, coming to what is the process of socialization? Socialization is the process of learning group norms, habits, and ideas. There are 4 factors of this process of learning. These are imitation. We learn by imitation, right? Many of us, in fact, all of us, we learn by imitation. Imitation means copying an individual by an individual of the actions of another. So Mead defines it as a self-conscious assumption of another's acts of growth. So what is it like? Basic, as a child, the first step, once the child is growing up, he imitates his parents, mother and father. Normally, the boy imitates the father, the girl imitates the mother. They try to imitate and they try to learn. Now, suggestion. Suggestion is the process of communication resulting in the acceptance with conviction of the communicated proposition in the absence of logically adequate grounds for its acceptance. It may be conveyed through language, picture, or some similar medium. Suggestion, it is just a suggestion. What do you understand by suggestion? may I just suggest that you switch on the cameras? That is a suggestion. So suggestion is also a process of communication, resulting in the acceptance. Now, suggestion can be conveyed through language or picture. Now, I can suggest to you through by using a picture, or I can suggest by using language. Verbally, I can tell you. So there are several mediums through which suggestions can be given. So suggestibility of the child is greater than that of the adult, because in childhood he is devoid of maturity and reason. See, as a child, what happens? The child absorbs everything because he doesn't have the power of discretion. The child, whatever he's seeing, is absorbing, he's imitating. So identification in his early age, the child cannot make any distinction between his organism and environment. As a very, very tiny tot, he doesn't understand his environment and he are separate. He cannot discriminate that. Most of his actions are random. They are natural reactions of which he is not conscious. As he grows in age, he comes to know of the nature of things which satisfy his needs. Such things become the object of his identification. So in his early years, he cannot identify himself that he is separate from the environment. He is separate from his parent. But gradually, as he is growing older, he learns all these. Then language. Language is the medium of social intercourse, right? It means what? In society, what do? You use language to express yourself. Without language, it's very difficult to communicate with others, right? So language is the most prominent thing. It is means of cultural. At first, the child utters some random syllables which have no meaning, but gradually he comes to learn his mother tongue. And then he learns other languages also as he keeps growing up. Now, elements of socialization. There are three elements in socialization which play their part in the socialization process of the individual. So what are the three elements? The physical and psychological heritage of the individual, the environment in which he is born, culture in which he is, because of the action and interaction between these elements. Now, the process, apart from elements, have you all understood the elements of socialization? The physical, psychological heritage. Heritage means the genetic, from which family he is born. What are the family, culture? That is what is heritage. The environment in which he is born. What is the kind of environment? Different kinds of environment. Culture. Again, what kind of culture he is born. All these are the play a very, very important role in his socialization process. Now, the process of socialization can be understood by analyzing, also can be understood by analyzing 8 stages of psychosocial development proposed by Erik Erikson. Now, Erik Erikson, he has proposed different stages of development, as we had told earlier, right? These are all different methods of socialization. These, we are analyzing this. Erik Erikson's psychosocial stages, we are analyzing it to understand the process of socialization. He has stated, 8 stages. He has stated 8 stages of a child's life in which psychostages of development take place. So he has given the stage 1, he has named it as trust versus mistrust. It is the first stage of ego development which occurs between birth and 1 year. Second stage is autonomy versus shame and doubt. This is the early childhood. Then stage 3, initiative versus guilt. He has named it as preschool years. As the child is crossing these different stages, his process of socialization is also changing. These stages are having a great impact on him and his social development. Now, industry versus, we will deal with this in detail subsequently as we progress in our classes. Okay. For now, industry versus inferiority. This phase is between early school years from 5 years to 11 years. Then stage 5 is identity versus confusion. This stage is basically the adolescent stage of the child. Stage 6 is intimacy versus isolation, which is the early adulthood. Stage 7 is generativity versus stagnation. This during adulthood, when we continue to build our lives. This is again the process undergoes changes. Stage 8 or the final stage is integrity versus despair. This phase occurs during old age. So when we analyze all these stages, we will understand how these stages of development have an impact on the socialization process of the child who is growing up. Got it? Now, agents. Now, coming to what are the agents of socialization? Family, schools, peer groups, religion, mass media, workplace. These are all the agents of socialization. The first and foremost agent, which is a very, very important, is the family. As we all know, families play a very big role. That is why we say that we need to be very careful with our children. If we want to teach them well, we want them to behave well, we should be what we want our children to be. As simple as that. We cannot be something else and teach our children something else, right? We be what we want the children to be. It's again schools. As the child keeps growing, maybe 3 years, 4 years, the child is put into school. Then school plays a major agent. School is an agent of socialization. Then comes peer groups. Peer groups is nothing but as the child is growing, the friend circle that the child has, that is again another agent of socialization. Through these avenues, through these peer groups, the child learns many, many important areas and facets of his life. Then religion also, religious beliefs and religion, mass media, what all the child watches on TV. It's very, very important, especially if the child is small. You should be very careful on what you watch yourself while the child is around. That is, if you don't want your child to watch all, the things which will traumatize him or will traumatize him and will make him learn all unwanted things. Then workplace. Of course, when the child becomes adult and goes to workplace, then the child the learning expands to workplace areas and all. As you all know, this learning is a whole life process. Learning is a whole life process. We are learning each day, we are learning. So the child in adult life learns from the workplace also. The institution that makes the individuals familiarized to the society are known as agents of socialization. So we have been talking as agents of socialization. Who are the agents? What are these agents? Agents are nothing but the institutions or individuals which familiarize or which help, which support the child to learn, adapting to this society are known as agents of socialization. Amongst them, the primary socialization is done by family. As we have already shared, I have already told, the primary socialization is done by family. It influences the formation of individuals' personality. That's very, very important. In addition to it, school, peer groups, mass media, religion, and workplace influence in forming a particular individual's personality. Now, the infant at birth is only a biological being who gradually transforms into a social being. While this transformation is taking place, there is a great influence of the family, peers, culture, and community on it. This is what so long we have been discussing are the agents of socialization. So every society prescribes its own means of giving social training to its newborn members. Now, for example, the society in the US, society in some other countries may be different from the societies in India, right? Now, in Iraq countries and all, they prescribe a code of dressing and all. So once the child grows up in that kind of a culture, the child will be introduced to that kind of a dressing gown. Similarly, in India, the Indian cultural background, we will find that the dressing up code is very different. Different in the villages, different in the cities, different in the urban places. So depending on the area, depending on the geographical area, the kind of training, social training, the newborn experiences, depending on where the child is born, not only in which family, in which country, which society, which culture the child is born, all these will influence the child's personality so that they develop into proper adults with well-adjusted personality. Now coming to, there are different types of socialization, namely primary socialization, secondary socialization, anticipatory socialization, and re-socialization. Now the socialization is the persistent process of familiarizing individuals to the society. What is this process? It is nothing but, the individual is being exposed. The individual is being exposed and familiarized with the society each day in and day out, day in and day out. Now, socialization provides an understanding in respect of society and culture in which the individual lives and also helps to form his personality. Socialization is the process of learning group norms, habits, and ideas. There are four factors of this process of learning. As we have already discussed, these are imitation, suggestion, identification, and language. But here we are talking about the types of socialization is primary. Primary means directly. One second, I'll just take you to that slide. That slide I didn't prepare, so I'll just tell you. So we have different types of socialization, mainly primary, secondary, anticipatory, and re-socialization. Re-socialization means you learn and then you unlearn also. This is another kind of socialization, another type of socialization. Primary socialization is directly you are interacting primarily and then you are learning. Secondary is through a channel you are learning. Anticipatory socialization is an indirect way of socialization. You anticipate and then the process takes place. This we have done. So, right. So now here I conclude the process of, we have been doing block 2, unit 4, socialization and different types. What is socialization? Different types of socialization, different shares. Now, did you see the presentation or was it just talking?
No, ma'am.
You didn't see the presentation?
No.
No, ma'am.
Oh my God. I'm sorry, one of you should have told me, no? Okay, 1 second. I'll just share the. You didn't see the slides. 1 second. Now, can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
So quickly, I'll go through the slides. You should have told me.
I think that maybe you was not having time. That's why you have made of 1 unit only.
No, please. So can you see this?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Block 2, socialization. This is unit 4. Oh my God. Okay. Please read. Then I'll move on to the next.
Socialization and social cognition play a vital role in a modern day. Socialization is the process by which individuals are assisted to become members of their social groups. That first opportunity is a very important one, that is impression formation, the forming of the first knowledge a person has about another person. Okay. Impression formation is another kind of social cognition. It is mental representation of a person and our reaction to him or her information. Okay.
Next. Meaning and definition of social. Read it loud, please. Yeah.
Okay. Socialization is a process whereby individuals are made aware of behaviors that are expected of them with regards to the norms, beliefs, attitudes, and values of the society in which they live. Socialization helps the individual face the realities of life through the appreciation of their culture practices. The agencies of socialization are the social institutions that pass on to the people these norms, values, beliefs, and attitudes. Socialization is a process as the process of including the individual into the social and cultural world, of making him a particular member in a society and its various groups, and inducing him to accept the norms and values of that society. Socialization is definitely a matter of learning and not of biological origin.
Are you all understanding?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, please.
Yes, ma'am.
The newborn is a merely an organism. Socialization makes him responsive to the society. He is socially active. He becomes a purush, and the culture that is group indicates in sorry include
Inculcates.
inculcates in him. Inculcates in him, humanize him, and makes him Manusha. The process indeed is endless. Ma'am, what is the meaning of Manusha?
Manusha, Hindi term, no? Manav.
Okay, Manav. Okay,
Human
thank you.
being. Right.
Okay, thank you. The culture pattern of his group in the process gets incorporated in the personality of a child. It prepares him to fit in the group and to perform the social roles. It sets the impact on the line of social orders and enables an adult to fit into the new group. It enables the man to adjust himself to the new social order. Socialization facilitates the development of the human brain, body, attitude, behavior, and so forth. Socialization is known as the process of inducting the individual into the social world. The term socialization refers to the process of interaction through which the growing individual learns the habits, attitudes, values, and beliefs of the social group into which he has been born.
Yes, next.
There are different theories of socialization. Some of the theories are theory of looking glass, self-proposed by Charles Horton Cooley.
Coolie.
Theory of social
He's known as Coolie.
Cooley. Okay, Cooley. Theory of social self-development by George Herbert Mead.
Right.
Yes. Socialization process can also be understood by analyzing the theories of Erikson psychosocial development, Freud's theory of psychoanalysis.
Right.
Freud's theory of psychoanalysis, he emphasized on the early years of the life of a person and the lifelong importance of conflicts created by them as society imposes restraints on the child's needs. Freud's theory of psychosexual development was seen to have a direct impact on the social behavior of the individual. Further, the agencies which influence the child's development process are also discussed. It is the process by which an individual learns how to interact with others and becomes a member of society. Socialization is a complex lifelong process which helps in emergence of social self. Goals of socialization. Basic goals of socialization include the following: impulse control and development of a conscience.
Conscience.
Role preparation and performance. Cultivation of source of meaning, that is, what is valued, what is liked. Prepares humans to function in social life. Impact of socialization. Impact of socialization can be seen both on the individual and also on the society that lives in. On the individuals, it helps by providing skills and habits, helps in acting and participating within the society. On the society, inducts all individual members into norms, beliefs, values, etc. The means by which social and cultural continuity and attained. Process of socialization. Socialization is the process of learning group norms, habits, and ideas. There are 4 factors of this process of learning. These are imitation, suggestion, identification, and language. Imitation. Imitation is the copying. Second.
By an individual.
Imitation is a copying by an individual of the actions of another mean defines. It is a self-conscious assumption of another acts of roles. Suggestions. Suggestion is the process of communication resulting in the acceptance with conviction of the communicated proposition in the absence of logically adequate grounds for its acceptance. It may convey through language, picture, or some similar mediums. Erickson's psychological stages of development. Stage 1, trust versus mistrust. First stage of ego development, which occurs between birth and 1 year. Stage 2, autonomy versus shame.
Autonomy versus shame and doubt.
Early childhood. Stage 3, initiative versus guilt, preschool years. Stage 4, industry versus inferiority.
Inferiority.
Inferiority. Early school year from 5th year to 11 years.
5 to 11.
5 to 11 years. Stage 5, identity versus confusion. Adolescence. Stage 6, intimacy versus isolation, early adulthood. Stage 7, generativity versus stagnation. During adulthood, we continue to build our lives. Stage 8. Lives, yes. Stage 8, integrity versus despair. This phase occurs during old age.
Right.
Agents of socialization: family, school, peer group, religion, mass media, workplace. Sure. These institutions that make the individual familiarized to the society are known as agent of socialization. Amongst them, the primary socialization is done by family. It influences the formation of individual's personality. In addition to it, school, peer groups, mass media, religion, and workplace influence in forming a particular individual's personality. The infant at birth is only a biological being who gradually transforms into a social being. While this transformation is taking place, there is a great influence of the family, peers, culture, and community on it. Every society prescribes its own means of giving social training to its newborn members so that they develop into proper adults with well-adjusted personality. There are different types of socialization, namely primary socialization, secondary socialization, anticipatory socialization, and re-socialization. The socialization is the persistent process of familiarizing individuals to the society. Socialization provides an understanding in respect of the society and culture in which the individual lives and also helps to form his personality. Socialization is the process of learning group norms, habits, and ideas. There are 4 factors of this process of learning. There are imitation, suggestions, identifications, and language.
Yeah.
The process of socialization.
Right, tell me. Read.
The process of socialization can also be understood by analyzing 8 stages of psychosocial development proposed by Erickson. Each stage builds on the preceding stages and paves the way of subsequent stages. Each stage is characterized by a psychosocial crisis, which is based on psychological development but also on demands put on the individual by parents and or society. Ideally, the crisis in each stage should be resolved by the ego in that stage in order for development to proceed correctly. The outcome of one stage is not permanent but can be altered by later experiences. Everyone has a mixture of the traits attained at each stage, but personality development is considered successfully if the individual has more of the
this is missing, word is missing. So this is what it is now about the different process of Erickson's 8 levels of stages. And then we conclude here this socialization and social cognition. In unit 4 and unit 4 we have completed, right? Which is
Yes, ma'am.
socialization. So in the next
Yes,
class again, we will go in for social cognition, which is unit 5. It comes under block 2. And
yes.
then of course 5 and then 6 is interpersonal attraction, which is unit 6. So I don't know, later on maybe this presentation maybe I can share with you if it is helpful for you in studying. If you feel it is
Ma'am,
helpful. Yes.